It's another episode of the Next Fix podcast where we talk about comeback stories. We want to know when things were shitty, how shitty did they get? And then how did these magnificent people, including Jeremy Norrie, come out of it? What was the genesis of the comeback story? And so we love to paint that picture. And today we've got Jeremy Norrie, and he has decided to come to us and let us know what that was all about. I know he's coming from Big Bear in California. So to those of you that aren't familiar, I suggest you get out there and check it out because it's like a little slice of heaven. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Jeremy, just how are you living today, brother? What's been going on today?
Great. Yeah, like you said, I live in Big Bear. I feel like I have really dodged the bullet in life and I'm very happy these days. And yeah, it is a little slice of heaven up here. And I try to enjoy my life as much as I can, as well as be responsible and do all the things that I should be doing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So right, he's painting this pleasant picture, this responsible young man, right? Like, no, buddy. We're gonna start off with what I said, right? When was it shitty? I want to know, like, well, how bad did it get for you, man? Because I mean, that's another thing about California, man. There is trouble. There is that grimy side of life if you're looking for it. So what did it look like for you?
It's true, yeah, and I'll just do the whole thing. So I started my life kind of as a nerdy little kid. My dad is Scottish, and so I had a very kind of different upbringing, also very conservative. I was an altar boy. I was shy and like little, and so I played soccer. Everyone else played basketball and football, and so I had this kind of outlaw or outsider lifestyle from early on, and when you're young, kids are nice enough and everything. But then as I got older, I recognized I was the nerdy kid. And me and my friends, we didn't play the sports and we were kind of separate from what was going on with all the other popular kids and where they were going. And the girls might talk to them and da 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 da, all the good things, right? And being a nerdy kid wasn't what they make it out to be in the movies these days, where like every single TV show is about that nerdy kid, and it's like this hero story of how they become the awesome kid. No, we were all just nerdy kids. There was no like, oh, we're becoming popular kid. Like, no, it was just.
Right. It's let me ask you, Jeremy. Like, how old are you?
I'm 47 now.
You and I were cut from the same cloth or from the same era,
Uh-huh.
and in that era didn't really include bullying, right? Like the whole like bullying was like a rite of passage. Like it was almost
Sure.
encouraged by parents. There was like, movies that were like they like almost embellished it. Like, yeah, like this is how it goes. You're supposed to get bullied. And so there wasn't like resources or encouragement to
No,
like,
and
do this
if the
like
bullies would have, like, bullied me and then I got to be friends with the bullies and been one of the popular kids, bring on the bullies, I coulda handled that.
right.
That's not how it worked out for me, but in a way it did kinda. So, like, I wanted to be a cool kid, and so I was very influenced by all the things that they were doing, and then I would try and do those things even though I was, like, a nerdy kid. So they would, like, all buy this, like, certain kind of clothes, and then I would buy that kind of clothes too, and they would be like, now it's not cool," like, like, and I was that guy, and, like, as we kind of got into high school and all of that, it was still kinda that way, but I also was legitimately having problems now, So, like,
Right.
I wasn't doing great in my schoolwork. I was really, like, focused on trying and, like, on girls a lot, and, like, I'm not getting the girls. And so it's just, like, total like, obsession with my mind where, like, I can't pay attention to schoolwork. How am I gonna meet a girl? And I'm not having any good, results here, and I'm
Yeah,
doing a lot
yeah.
of nerdy stuff that isn't gonna lead me to good results. And so I remember getting in trouble to where now I was starting to go to summer school every year. And so I went to summer school a couple times when I was younger, and it did somewhat help me because the cool kids were there, and you did kind of meet the cool kids, but I didn't necessarily befriend them. While in my junior year of high school, I befriended the cool kids at summer school. I had a mohawk and they discovered that my hair was like hanging over it, and so you couldn't see it. I was like like long hair, but then they discovered it. And once they discovered that I had a mohawk, I was accepted. They were like, you're one of us.
That was the entry price of the mohawk? Damn, I wish that somebody would have
You're
told
new,
me
you're
that.
new. And, I was cool. I like smoking weed at that point. I was like, "Yeah, let's smoke weed." I was cool with all the things that they wanted to do, you know? Like, so I wasn't gonna tell on them, and, but I was also useful in that I could probably get them out of trouble, 'cause, well, I wouldn't be doing anything bad. And so, like, it was a good thing in a lot of ways, and that kinda led me into the cannabis industry, essentially. So I started smoking weed a lot and I started finding myself in that world. And then I had girlfriends and then I had all the cool things that I always wanted. And I started selling weed out of my house. And early on, I ended up getting a condo. Me and my parents negotiated this thing where I was going to work for my dad. He needed an employee. And so I agreed to go be like essentially his apprentice to take over his company. And, in doing that, they were going to, co-sign for me on a condo, and part of my pay was gonna pay for the condo. And so this was all lumped into this whole agreement, so I ended up with my own condo at 20 years old, you know? And so I was selling
And then so
weed.
you started growing in there? Because if
I
you're
wasn't growing
47.
weed. No.
Oh,
I just was buying, so I like, we're in California, and I was like this kind of kid now that, like, knew a lot of other cool kids, and a lot of the cool kids were like, see, I was in on all this good weed that nobody had access to. So I would be able to buy all this crazy good weed, and then I'd be able to sell. At first, I was just buying the weed for myself, and all my friends would be like, "Give me some of that weed that you got." And then I realized, wow, if I bought an ounce of this weed and then I could sell off half of it and I don't have to even pay for this weed anymore. And it was like
right.
this slow progression.
Basic
Mhm.
basic drug dealer math right
Yep.
there. It's
Boom.
101,
All of a
right? Like,
sudden, I was just buying more and more weed. And then I'm making money on this weed, not only not paying for my own weed. And then, like, maybe I might buy some other drugs now too. I'm have my own condo. I'm selling it all every single night. People are coming over. It was like a movie, you know? And I'm hooking up with girls, buying other drugs. I'm selling ecstasy. Now I'm selling cocaine. Now I'm selling mushrooms. Now, and like, and then
the whole
through this,
thing.
yep, and then through this
One-stop
life,
shop.
uh-huh.
One-stop shop,
So
right?
then
Okay, so
some people are like, "You know what? This nerdy kid, Imma rob him." And so then I started getting robbed. And so I got robbed a few times, and then I got home invaded once, and that was crazy. They held me up at gunpoint, they said they were gonna kill me, and I have a book that all of these stories are in my book. It's on my website, theskyisland.com. You can read the first chapter and all the horror stories of my
hold
home
on a
invasion.
second, Jeremy. You're going at freaking light speed, man. All right. So skyisland.com, which
Yeah.
we would have gotten to
Yeah, yeah,
eventually.
we'll
But
get back to it later, but I
right.
just
So,
figured
but
I'd
there's a
throw it
book.
in there.
What's the name of the book?
The
What's
name
the
of the
name of the
book
book?
is called Jack Moves,
Jack Moves.
and,
Okay.
there's a little subtitle. It's a memoir of the weed trade and dangerous living, and
Wow.
it
Okay.
tells all the
Yeah.
stories of those robberies from when I was selling weed out of my house, and then the future of what I ultimately ended up doing too. So,
I like how
that
you're not
crazy,
telling us.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So all of that
Because I want to
crazy
know. Right?
stuff, like, it led me to being, getting actual jobs in the cannabis industry with real companies. And then I went to Amsterdam and I won the Cannabis Cup in 2009 for the best product for the first tool for dabbing. So I was
Wow.
one of the proponents in this whole dabbing takeover and hash oil and all the pens and all that stuff that you see now. We
Right. Right.
were
Right.
early on in this, like, conversion of hash, and,
Wow.
so I got an identity in the cannabis world, and so then I did other things. I won the Cannabis Cup again in 2012, and then I had a company that was my own company, and I ended up selling that company, and I wrote for a cannabis magazine. I got sent all over to interview all the different people that were the leading people in cannabis, and I had this huge identity, and I started doing these events that were.
Hold on one second though, Jeremy. I want to rewind a second for me here.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
sure.
like, so you're getting jacked, right? You're in this condo. Like, well, how did you get like? I mean, what did you get? A gun? Did you get a bodyguard? Did you just move? I mean,
No,
what?
no. So, like, the first time it happened, I think I knew who did it. I had a friend who was doing heroin at my house. and I was letting him just do that. I wasn't selling heroin. I didn't do heroin. But he would come over and he was my friend and, he was doing heroin in my house. And then other friends of mine would be doing heroin at my house and it was like not cool. And so I remember being like, yeah, this has to stop. And something happened with him where he was getting arrested. And I remember he came over one time and I made fun of him kind of in a not nice way. And then shortly thereafter, he robbed me.
Right, right,
Well, I
right,
just
right,
come home, my door is broken down. So the first time it happened, I got a new door and I got a metal screen door on there.
right,
And
right, right,
then
right.
the next time it happened, what was interesting was I had left that door unlocked or something, and people just opened it up. And I woke up in my house with people standing above me with guns, and yeah, and they had already been going through my stuff, and so they took all my weed and everything. I was clever enough to have hidden my weed, so the large majority of what they were looking for, they did not find, and that was able to get me back on my feet afterwards.
That's a s that's some strong weed, man. If you're out and then you don't hear people robbing your
We
you're
had been doing cocaine. I'd been doing other stuff too. Yeah.
right,
It
right,
was
right,
my house was a party house at that point.
right.
And so, yeah, it was crazy. It was good times, but that was a
Yeah,
scary moment, when they're tying me up and they're like, "We're gonna kill you." That wasn't fun. And yeah,
yeah. So
ultimately, it all worked out. They took my safe and they left, and then the last time that I got robbed, somebody actually I remember I think I know who did this one too. I was selling weed at that time, there was this one guy who would come over, and he was kind of a clown, and his girlfriend was hot. I probably inappropriately looked at his girlfriend in front of him one too many times, and
yeah,
I remember him talking to me about something, and I said, "Yeah." I explained to him, like, "Yeah, even though I got this metal door on my front door, there's a tool that exists that could go through this metal door for sure. There's always a tool that can destroy whatever it is that you're trying to affect. There's nothing that's impenetrable."
right,
So
right.
I come home to my door, and so he had found the tool, and it was just mangled metal, all gone. I was like, "Jesus Christ!" And that worked out okay. He had stole a small amount of stuff. It wasn't crazy. And I had a
Right.
job at the time, so I was gonna keep getting paid, it wasn't like I was only selling weed. So
Yeah. So, all right, so I rewound a little bit, but man, all right, so you take cannabis, you take it to like the pinnacle, you take it to the top
yeah,
of the mountain because you're winning a
that's
cannabis
right.
cup
And so
and
now what we're doing is we're doing these events. We're doing cannabis competitions. So we've accomplished everything. We know what the best things are. We know all the best people, and we know the best competitions. And we think the competitions aren't great. So my first partner, he came up with this own competition, and he hired me on after the fact, after he kind of created the concept. And so then I went and threw these competitions all over the world with him mostly, but I'm the only one who was at every single one. I was at the one we did in Spain. I was at the one we did in Amsterdam. I was at every single one, everywhere in the world. And so these were culturally relevant things. It was taking fire. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. Everybody knew about it. Think about it like when skateboarding first came out and like, oh my God, people are hearing about this thing. And so it was like that. And this also further and further added to my character and my identity in this world. And so as we're kind of doing these things, they also are illegal at the time and like quasi legal. We could maybe do it under this like rules we made up. There were no actual rules. And then, we're doing this for a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years. And then as we're doing it, the rules start happening. And so recreational gets like voted in. And then they start becoming aware of these events because everyone's trying to copy our events now. And there's like these little events every day like little miniature versions of our events, and then the
yeah,
big versions of our events too. And then in addition to that first event that I was doing, like let's say 2 years into that, another partner, a person who was vending at those events that was like a real big character in the weed world, he asked me to do his event, and we do this event that's like maybe the biggest event ever in weed next to the Cannabis Cup. Anybody who was in weed at the time, they know about this event and they might look at it as even better than the Cannabis Cup. It was
sure.
like the Coachella of weed. huge.
So yeah, and you're a rock star in this space.
I'm
And
on
again, you've
stage
said
with
it.
Migos. I'm on stage with Machine Gun Kelly, Ice Cube, the Wu-Tang Clan. Like, I'm doing crazy shit in this weed
Yeah.
world, you know? And we're throwing these competitions. Like, people are paying us to give us their weed so that we can judge it and sell it to people so they can judge it and like do all this crazy stuff with it. It's absolutely a rock star life in weed. I'm flying to this state and that state, and I'm throwing illegal cannabis events in their state. Like, I'm like invading Amsterdam and I'm throwing an illegal cannabis event. I'm invading Spain and I'm throwing an illegal cannabis event. I'm going to Washington, DC, and I'm throwing an illegal cannabis event. I'm going to Rhode Island. I'm going to, you name it. We went all
Yeah.
over Michigan, all everywhere. We went all over the place. And so like
Now,
we're
when you're doing this, right? Like how like you seem like a sharp dude, right? So, but you're also partying, right? So, like,
sure.
I'm curious because
Yeah.
I don't think of myself as like a total idiot, but I can behave as an idiot can to the max. So, I'm curious as to how much preparation were you doing before like going to another country? Were you studying the laws and trying to figure out like how to like
This is a good one.
infiltrate like to your
Yeah, I
description,
almost
like
got
you're
arrested in
invading.
Spain, so that was a good one. So there was one requirement basically is that a local person who had some sort of cultural relevance had to be our person of contact that we could kind of gear everything around. So if we wanted to get a venue, they could go to the venue, they could talk to the venue owner. If we needed them to do anything locally, they were there to do that thing. And they were promoting their business. We all had other businesses that we were promoting. And the theory was that this event wasn't financially beneficial to us, that what we were doing was networking and promoting our other businesses. And so we were all very kind of sacrificial in many ways in that we were trying to do this other thing. So when I did the event in Spain, yes, I had a guy who lived in Spain and he kind of set up a lot of the things. And then I had other people who had contacts in Spain and they would connect me with this or that. And then I was able to kind of get these things through my network of people in the cannabis world and all of our networks of people that were in these different places. We were all trying to accomplish this thing. And once it became the cool thing to do, it was very easy to accomplish because people wanted to be associated with it. They wanted to like do some shit. They would work for free. They would do whatever they could to be associated with the event. And so that was all very easy. The hard part kind of came when there were definitely situations like so in Spain, and I was like I'm mostly a level-headed person. Granted, I made a documentary about all this stuff, and in one of the interviews, I'm on acid in that documentary. So I was definitely partying here and there, and playing a role in that sense too. And I would try to take my moments where I could, where it seemed safe. And in Spain, I had taken somebody's entry for our competition. I had hidden it in one of the trophies that was an electronic device. So it seemed like it would kind of go unnoticed inside of this packaging and box. But they did pull me out of the plane. Like when I arrived in Spain, they had my picture. Before you even get out of the portal thing, there was a military guy standing there as I'm walking out with my carry-on and he's like talking to the plane people. He looks like he's got Desert Storm military fatigues and a machine gun. Okay. And so he's like looking at me and the plane people are looking at me and they're like trying to discreetly communicate. I'm like, uh-oh, this doesn't look good. I know what to look for. And this is like, okay, they're looking at me, they're saying stuff. Wonder what this is gonna be about. I also know not to lose your cool. This is very important. So I see what's going on and I don't panic, but inside I'm panicking. And he has my picture. It's like from my passport, basically. He has like a photocopy of my passport picture, essentially. And they have like clued him in that this is me. I'm the guy that they're looking for. And he's like, steps out of the plane. He's like, come with me, steps out of the plane. And he says to me do I have any other luggage? And he takes my carry on away from me. He's going to carry it now. And he's like, don't worry, everything's cool. Everything's great. He has broken English, but the gist was, don't worry, everything's okay. But you gotta come with me. I'm like, okay. And he keeps saying it. So like we're walking through the airport and then we kind of get out into the open area and he says it again. And I keep getting the gist like, oh, this is where I should run if I were going to run, you know? Like, and so, but I also mentally, I'm realizing like, you know what, I'm going to go through this. I think that I got this guy checkmated. I don't think they're going to catch me. So whatever they think, let's see if they actually have anything or if they are just being cautious. And so he brings me to this underground part of the airport where there's a million of these military guys. And he has all my luggage and it's all open, sitting on tables. Mhm.
Did his English get better?
No,
Like, with it
no.
no, it's still I was like,
That
if
is
he was just, like,
he's the only
plain
one that speaks English, though. So they all are speaking to him in Spanish, and he speaks English, and he's my English guy. I've been strategic about how I packed my bags, you know? And, like, I had a vape pen, but it was, like, on me, and he didn't search me. So I had all these cannabis related products, but not cannabis, right? So I had glass bongs and pipes and all kinds of electronic tools for dabbing and all these different things that were all associated with cannabis, but not cannabis. They're all cannabis accessories, right? Okay. Except inside one of them, there was like this huge slab of hash. So, and I had timed my event at the same time as this big event in Spain that they were doing in this other city. And they're, oh, look at this thing. Look at this thing. Oh, and they're opening up my gun case and it's got glass pieces in it that are worth a lot of money. And they're like, oh,
yeah,
okay. And then they start saying to each other the name of the city where this event was and Festival de Cannabis. So they're like, Castel de Fels, Festival de Cannabis. And they're saying it to each other. And I immediately realized, oh, they think I'm here for that event. The guy that speaks English, they're communicating with him. And so then he turns to me and he says, are you here for the event in the city? And I'm like, yep, that's exactly why I'm here. And he's like, oh, do you have the paperwork for the event? I'm like, oh, I have it somewhere. I have to find it. He's like, don't even worry about it. Packs up all the bags, off I go into Spain from my
but you said you got arrested.
so not in Spain. I got arrested in other places, but not in
Right.
Spain. In Arizona, they showed up and shut down my event one time. And so I actually got arrested not throwing the event. I got arrested transporting cannabis to Arizona between one of my events.
Right, right. It feels so good when you get away, when you play it cool to,
Yeah.
like, play it is like the movies, but, you know, like, these are all, like, the highlights, brother, and man, my hat goes off to you because, like, you are traveling the planet doing what you thought was
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're a rock star, but, what happened? Well, why or when did that party end for you,
So
brother? Like,
that's
when
what
did
I
things
was
start
getting to basically.
yeah,
So now I
yeah,
have this huge identity in the cannabis world. I can't just do anything. I'm this cannabis guy, right? And so these events, they're big, successful events. Well, no, they're not so much successful. There's events all the time now. My event is kind of getting less and less popular. There's now people that tried to cheat in my event, and this like gets out. There's all these stories about my event not being like good or
right.
fake or there's stories, right?
Sure, sure, sure.
So all of this stuff is kind of working towards me not doing the event anymore. It's financially struggling. And then the big event that I was doing, the one with the Wu-Tang Clan and all of these guys, I'm slowly losing my role in that event as well because my other partners who had asked me to help them originally because they didn't know about events, now they want to do all the event stuff. And so they don't
Right,
need
right,
my
right.
help anymore. And
Boy.
so I'm kind of getting pushed to this part of the event and that part of the event. And then my old assistant, they hire her on. And then now I'm basically working for my assistant. And so like
Right.
it becomes this
Things are
whole,
starting to get ugly.
and we're going towards this now. They've created rules for the events. And so now we're gonna have to get a license. And now we're gonna
Wow.
have to do all this stuff that we never ever had to do. We just made up whatever we wanted to do the whole time.
Right, right.
So I remember saying to my business partner at that time, and granted, I had almost no say in what he was going to do anyway. This year, we need to scale the event down and we need to get everything done right. We're losing money every year on this music stuff. And we need to like not lose money this year. We need to do it right and get the permits and.
Right, right, right,
And
right,
he's
right.
like, "I wanna pay Base Nectar $1,000,000." And I'm like, "Oh my god."
You're like, "We need to scale back the music," and you're like, "No, we need bass nectar.
Yeah, now he
That's
wants
what
to
we need."
spend what we normally spend on all the music on 1 act, you know?
Right, right,
And so
right,
I'm like,
right,
"Oh
right.
my god, okay." So now it's crazy. And so I say I have to step away. The future of that is he doesn't get his permit. He ends up with $1,000,000 debt to everyone in the cannabis industry, and he almost wants to kill himself. And now he's worked his way out of that, but it was a bad thing.
Right, dude.
And
Oh
then
my
I
god.
lost my role. And so my other event, it financially became unfeasible to continue. So that event ended. The Chalice event, they lost their permit. He got $1,000,000 debt. Another company bought his IP. So
Wow.
he couldn't even throw the event because it became this whole corrupt thing. And so now I have no role in the cannabis industry, but I thought for sure somebody else is going to want me to throw their events. I'm the event guy.
Right,
Certain,
right, right, right,
and I tried to work for High Times for a second, and that didn't really pan out. And then it just
right.
nobody wanted me to throw their events. I applied for all these different cannabis events, nothing happened. I got no callbacks, even not a smidgen of a smudgen of a lead in any sort of direction for any sort of role for me. None of these businesses that I helped make popular offer me any sort of job of any kind.
'Cause I mean, it's a massive industry as far as money's concerned, but
Yeah,
it's a small community, right? Like
yeah,
the key players in that space, I'm sure everybody knows everybody, and they're now looking at Jeremy thinking, "Now we
no.
don't want him."
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. I'm no longer valuable. They saw the failure of the other things and now I'm essentially polluted, right? So I'm
Wow.
toxic.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't
Yeah.
want to hire somebody that isn't popular. I'm only good when it was good. And now that
Sure.
I'm bad, it's bad. And so and then it's just also through my own ego. I didn't
Yeah.
want to really work on another job. I could have got some other job that wasn't in the
Easy.
cannabis industry, but I didn't do
Right.
that. I just decided what I was going to do was like try and hustle and struggle. And I lived on maybe 500 to $1,000 for like 5 to 7-ish years after that. Long time. And then
So from a rock star to, like
yeah,
just
and I'm living in people's
couch
houses,
surfing.
and, I lost my condo that I bought in Hollywood. I couldn't pay the rent, and so, like, everything fell apart for me. My cars were falling. I was having to buy these super cheap cars because I had no money. I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
arrested, so I started selling weed, and I got arrested, selling weed right between one of the events, and that's partly why I couldn't even continue the event thing is because I got arrested. And now I had to pay all my money that I had saved to an attorney to defend
Sure.
me. And,
Exactly.
fortunately, I escaped those charges, but it was 13 months before they even charged me. So they arraigned me, and it was this long out process where I was not wanted anywhere. And,
Yeah.
I felt lost. And then this is another thing so now I'm desperate and I'm staying in other people's houses and I'm getting into these situations where it's not good living situations. And so I left one living situation and I went into this place and 4 days after I was in the house gets raided. And
Yeah.
so now I'm
Yeah.
standing in front of the cops, having to defend myself, and the every
Right.
single kind of police officer ever in the world is getting brought through this house to try and, give this guy every charge that he ever could have because they didn't like him. They had it out for this guy. This guy was
Yeah,
throwing parties they didn't
you
like.
were on the bad side of, like, cannabis is I lived in Colorado, and I know some people that were on the right side of things, but you gotta make a decision to stay on that side if you're gonna,
Well, the
pursue
corporate
it.
side is a whole different side, and, like, to us, that's like Chinese. None of us even know that side. This side is
Right.
everybody that I know is very well aware of we all experience the same life. This is old news.
Right.
And some varying degrees of this. Some people had it way worse than me, some people had it way less than me. And like that was one raid. So then I move to another house. I'm in this other house for like a couple years and then some stuff starts happening. This house gets raided also. And then it gets raided again and now we get evicted. And so now that's what ends up taking me to Big Bear. I'm running from the police essentially. I'm trying to get away to somewhere out of the middle of nowhere where nobody knows me. where I'm not gonna have any more problems.
You
And
know what's crazy? I did the same damn thing up in Estes Park, Colorado. Estes Park is up there, man, and I remember I was, staying at a friend's house, and I was up there for years, man, and at the time, I was wanted, and, a friend was trying to save my life and ended up calling the cops on me, but here I am in the middle of the mountains. I'm like, "They're never ever like, what's the chance of them coming and find me up here?" And sure as hell, man, there's this cop walking up this driveway, long driveway, and I thought to myself, damn, they came all the way up here and took my ass away. But so, well, what did that look like for you? Like, I mean, if you're still in Big Bear, right? So you get up to Big Bear. I mean, and you mentioned that you suffer from depression and stuff. Like, what is all this doing to you and your
so this
body
is
and your
when it all
mind?
really kind of comes to a climax. So
Yeah,
when I had gotten out of the cannabis industry, I used all my money to get into Bitcoin, and I was killing it in Bitcoin. And I had taken $20,000 and I had made it into $200,000. And then I took that $200,000 and I had made all these investments. And my plan was it was going to be around $600,000 that I was going to get. At that time, when I made those investments, I had 11 Bitcoin to give you perspective. Okay.
right, right,
Right. So had I just held the Bitcoin, I'd be a millionaire. Right. But
right,
whatever. So I had invested in all these like kind of shady companies. They were like risky companies, and every
right,
single
right,
one turned out to be a fraud. And I lost all the money. And like I lost a lot of the money. Now I was able to retrieve some of the money, and because Bitcoin has increased so much, I got almost my whole original $20,000 back out of it, in the
right,
long run.
right.
But at the time, I lost everything, and it was within like 3 days. And so it was like, oh my God, the pitfall of my heart. It was, oh my God, nothing worked out for me. I was in the process of moving out of that house right before all the raids had happened. And so I moved back in and then all the raids start happening. And so now I have no money, because I had lost everything.
Right,
And
right.
so when I moved up to Big Bear, I had no money. I took my friend's dogs. He went to jail. I took his dogs and I was fostering his dogs. And so it was me and the dogs up in Big Bear, just living a quiet life. And like for a while, I did nothing. And I was just trying to like fix up this house, get my life back in order. And I would walk the dogs every day. And I could spend money on almost nothing. I would go visit my parents now and then. And I would take any odd job that I could get. But it was a tough life. And I was trying to make those events that I was talking about, when they were
Yeah,
happening, I realized they were special, and I started filming them. I paid a film company to start shooting those events, and I had all that footage, and I thought I could make a documentary out of this, and I was working on that documentary, and it took me 9 years of working on that documentary to eventually have it finished and become a thing. And all during that whole time, like I end up moving up here. I'm in Big Bear. I'm still kind of working on it here and there. I finished my book during that time. I'm using this time to do a lot of these things that I
yeah,
always wanted
yeah.
to do, right? And find
And
myself.
actually, brother, that's a pretty like, I
Mhm.
know that you had big plans, and usually when our plans, like, the door gets slammed in our face, that's the depressing moment because it's not as we like, in the moment, all you feel is the door shut on your face. You can't tell that there's another door right down the hallway,
It's
and it's
exactly
it's
that.
opening, and it's cracked
Exactly that.
open,
So
and
I would do these walks with the dogs, and in my mind, I would be like, I'm lost. I could feel that I was depressed. I'm sad. I feel like I'm in an unescapable sadness, that I'm always in this kind of gray area of like melancholy, depressed. I'm looking at things from a negative perspective. I'm finding like the bad things and like I'm kind of complaining about a lot of things. And I'm like, kind of never in a great mood and all kinds of my maybe my health isn't great. There's all kinds of things that I'm noticing, like, oh, this is all bad stuff. But I'm listening to these podcasts where like, these are all the things that you need to do to be healthy. And these are all the things that you need to do to have a good lifestyle. And some of the stuff that I'm like doing, my friend does mindfulness and I'll talk to him about stuff. And I'm getting these little bits and pieces of like what I should be doing. And like I'm doing some of it, right? And I'm like, these are all the things that I should be doing, but I don't feel like I'm getting out of this thing. But these are all the things that I should be doing. So I'm exercising every day and I'm walking these dogs and I'm changing my diet and I'm doing all this stuff. And it's like, feels like maybe months, years potentially of doing these things. And then I'm also working on getting this documentary thing going. And then eventually I start getting somewhere with the documentary thing. And it's not like big success, but I get to a point where we release a couple documentaries and I'm getting a few $100s now from these documentaries, you know? And I'm starting to feel like people say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm now making films." And I get to say I'm doing something. I'm not, "Oh, I don't have a job." I'm like, "Oh, I was,"
Right. Right.
in the cannabis industry, this is another really interesting thing. So I would still go to some of the cannabis industry stuff. When I was doing the Secret Cup and I was doing Chalice, people would introduce me like, "This is my friend. He does this." My God, it's this, and it's this great reception. And then it becomes like, "Oh, this is my friend. He does this thing that you know, right?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, we know about that thing. That was awesome." Blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes, "This is my friend. He does this thing. It was a cannabis competition. You might not know about it. Blah, 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 blah." Now it's an explanation of like, well, who the fuck am I? You know? And like, nobody gives a shit. They're like, "Oh, cool, whatever. I don't know about it. Cannabis is like super fast. So whatever was happening 2 years ago, I don't know about it." So yeah, it was like it was real easy for me to be like, "Oh, I'm a nobody now." And like, now I'm starting to feel like, and then I'm doing one of these walks and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I'm not depressed anymore." And then I started thinking about what got me out of this depression. And I wrote it all down. And so I want to read it. I want to read it all. I have 10 steps to getting yourself out of depression. Okay.
Now, is this 10 steps is this in your book or is this a
No,
new thing?
this
Is it
is
okay?
nowhere. This is here exclusively and any other podcast that may have asked me about this same
Let's
thing.
do it. Let's do it. We
Okay.
got 10.
So here we go. One, nobody telling you that you suck. So I had some friends that are real mean motherfuckers, and they would constantly be telling me all kinds of shitty things about me. And I'm not the kind of person that's like, "Oh, this is cool. Let's just roast each other every day." It's just
Right.
it's lingering in my mind. It's like seeds of negativity that are being planted that live in my mind when they're not being said. And I need no more of that. I need to be thinking positive things about myself. And I don't need these little moments where it reminds me about the negative things. So none of this. Goodbye to people that are telling you bad things. And if it's you, you need to stop telling yourself those things. Find something to make progress on. So this for me, this was my documentaries, but it also was my book. And my book never made any money. It cost me money to make it. And it was little things. Like I always say, it could be a video game. It could be learning a language. It could be reading a book. It could be anything that you're going to make progress on that you can feel better about making progress on something. That you're at least doing something that is good, that you are increasing and you're improving upon, and that there's positive progress. Okay. So,
Right, and let me stop you. Let me just, pause you real quick because I this is a cool thing that I've always kind of noticed about the Constitution. It says pursuit of happiness.
yes.
Like, it's not the happiness is not promised, it's not a thing. It's the act of pursuit. The word pursuit is really what we want. We want to chase it,
And
and
let
so
me
that
assure you, a lot of us who have achieved goals would tell you that the actual fun part is the journey. It's the
right,
road to the goal. And then once you've achieved the thing, it's not as good as you imagined it to be.
exactly.
Okay, so number 3, less stress, accept feeling emotions. So, like you said, kind of, a lot of times people think, "I'm not supposed to feel sad. I'm supposed to feel happy. I'm not supposed to feel nervous. I'm not supposed to feel anxious. I'm not supposed to feel all these bad feelings, things that feel negative, that are hard to feel." You know, you're supposed to feel all of those things. And then you're supposed to learn how to deal with those feelings and then make it into good feelings and overcome those things. And so I think that you need to be able to accept that it's something you're supposed to feel those
Yeah.
feelings, if have that time, and then move on from those things. Don't let them rule your life either.
Exactly.
Okay. Then here's another fun one. 4, chosen suffering. So for me, working out really hard, maybe doing like a backpacking trip that I never thought I could do, like all these kind of things, like maybe going on stage,
Mm,
putting yourself out there, doing podcasts, like all kinds of things. Challenge yourself to do something that seems difficult, that will be uncomfortable for you to do the thing, but it's beneficial in the long run. And,
yeah.
I think that's really, really important because you've chosen this suffering. It's not suffering that's been put upon you because of hardships in your life. And then you
And there's a
feel like, oh,
difference.
poor me. This is a chosen thing that you've chosen to do to make yourself better. And this is a
Yeah.
good, good thing. Okay.
Awesome.
And then number 5, forgive yourself. So, yeah, you're not going to win them all. So, you're going to make mistakes. I hate it when I make mistakes. I beat myself up. I think about the mistake a million fucking times. It's like, oh my God, and pulling my hair out, like this is, yeah, it's bad. And so you have to be able to accept the mistake. And even still, I still tell myself and I still go through that, but I accept it eventually, kind of move on, distract yourself, realize that you did the best you could. If you didn't do the best you could, what are you going to do the next time? And you just
Right.
kind of got to move on with that kind of thing. Forgive yourself. And then number 6, think mindfully and with gratitude. So I ended up doing a documentary. Eventually, I found myself by becoming this documentary journalist, and that's what I do now. And one of the projects that I did was about mindfulness, and we interviewed all these UCLA professors about mindfulness, and they have all these cool practices like loving kindness and things that involve gratitude. And for me, the gratitude thing was really important because I have lived this crazy life. And like it's so easy for me to think about all the things that I don't have and the things that other people have better than me. And I can feel sorry for myself better than anybody. But that's not the way to have positive experiences. The way to have happy thoughts is to be grateful for those things that you do have and to think about how lucky you are to have so many things. There's always something that you have better than someone else. And you have to appreciate those things, even if it's just having all your arms and legs and sight and the ability to talk. Not everybody has all those things.
It's
And,
true, man.
like there's all these different things in your whole life. Everyone has a story. There's
Yeah.
something good about your story, and you need to focus on those things.
I
Okay.
love it, man. It's a
Yeah.
choice. Yeah, I love it.
And
I
then number
love it.
7, follow your smile. So one of the things I also noticed was I would be depressed. And then I would walk my parents' dog. I would take him out to the forest and let him off the leash. He'd go running around chasing bunnies. And I would notice myself laughing and having a smile. And I'd be like, whoa, I'm happy. How did this happen? And it was his happiness had like infected me. And I realized, oh my God, this is so good. I'm going to do this every weekend. And so then I start
Yeah.
walking the dog every weekend. And then you get this little moment of happiness every weekend. And if you
Yeah.
can find whatever that thing is that makes you smile and makes you happy, you should do that thing. And, you know, even if it seems like something that might be creepy, find a way to do it and make it not creepy. Like you got to find a way to, and it has to genuinely not
Yeah.
be something bad.
Yeah.
But like,
Like
as
like,
long as you have a good
for the
thing,
record
like,
we're not encouraging a guy to, like, go
yeah, like
watch, like,
all the women or so, like, but
nah,
as
nah,
long as
not
you have a wholesome thing, like walking your
right.
dog, that would be like a
Butterflies.
great example.
Butterflies and
Yeah,
dogs.
bird watching, I've seen people doing. I've seen people. I
Yeah.
met a guy that loved trains, and he would go out and he would watch trains at these, like, crazy places, and, whatever it is that makes you smile, do that thing.
Yeah. Love it.
And then number 8, you do have to have at least enough money to survive, so you can't be desperate. So one thing I wished that I had done was gone out and gotten a job rather than let my ego tell me that I had to be this important cannabis person or I wasn't going to be anything. And, it was below me to go work at, 7-Eleven or wherever it was that I saw some sort of job. Forget about that. Get the job. It'll make you have a little bit more money and that'll help you to get to the place where you want to go. The number 9, experience nature every day and get dirty. So this was a byproduct and partly why I stayed in Big Bear. I always wanted to live in a place like this because when I was going to do my big Bitcoin moves, I was starting to plan my future. And I was like, where could I move that would be just awesome? Where would I want to live if I could live anywhere? And a place like kind of like this is where I would want to live. And then part of it is because hiking and biking and doing all this stuff, they're like oddly healthy for you and they cost no money. And so, like, as we're studying all these things in science, like, we're learning, oh, like, you walk around barefoot on grass. This is like oddly healthy for you, and all these good things happen. Measurable good things happen in your body. Mainstream science accepts. You get up at 5:30 in the morning, you look at the sun, it's healing your eyes. Some sort of beneficial light is happening early in the morning. Oh, there's all these like weird byproducts of like living a normal, natural life. And it seems like, oh, probably all those things are oddly healthy for us. So, like saying
Yeah.
hello to my neighbors and like kind of knowing who they are and like being able to like go for a walk around my neighborhood in the morning and like seeing animals and like hearing birds and all these things seem like, oh, this is something that's important to being a human. And like, granted, I have to go run around and talk to people that are talking to dolphins and talk to people that are seeing Bigfoot or ghosts. Or maybe I'm doing a documentary on Buddhism or like diet and nutrition. And I'm going to see a doctor at Cedar Sinai. I'm doing all this city boy stuff. And so I'm out there living the city life and I'm killing myself doing the fun stuff and going to concerts and whatever it is that I'm doing. And then I get to
Right.
come back to nature and I go out and I get a little dirty hiking in the forest. And maybe I ride my bike. And all of this stuff, there's like a odd healthiness that comes from it. So you got to get out in nature and yourself get a little dirty too. Not just like do a
Yeah.
little clean walk, get dirty, camping, do the thing. And then the last thing, number 10, you have to have fun. You can't just be working on stuff all the time. You have to give yourself a little bit of time to relax and enjoy life. And so experience fun and enjoy yourself, but in moderation. So, don't get drunk every night. Don't start finding some sort of crutch as your thing.
Right.
Whatever your thing is, use it to make your life better.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a hell of a list, man. That's a kick-ass list. I love it. And now you like put this together like recently, right? This was not
It
an
was within the
incredibly long.
last couple years. I've been doing pretty good for a little while now. But when I first
Yeah.
moved up here, it took a few years before I found myself.
Well, you have a very well thought out path that you had taken, man, and man, God bless you for just having that. You've made that decision not just once, not twice, but for many, many days in a row to look on the bright side of things. And honestly, that's what this show's about. This is about people, whatever their past was and however bad it may have gotten, at some point I feel, and I'm really speaking off the cuff here, man. This is really just like coming out of my head, is that day that you start to make the decision to focus on things that you should be grateful for. I mean, that's usually like, everybody's always asking me about this turnaround point, but if you wanted to pinpoint it, it's probably somewhere around that time that you're like, you know what? I'm not gonna be depressed and then turn to my shitty coping mechanism, which is drugs and booze. I'm gonna choose to be thankful for my legs and my arms and my ability to talk, right? Like, because it's there. I mean, for most of us. And so it's we can make that decision, man. And it's clear like you do that. That's what you do. And
Yeah.
that's pretty damn cool, man.
I don't know how long I was doing those things before they worked. It wasn't like I just did those things and then the next day I was happy. I just noticed that I was happy, and these were the things that I attributed to achieving that goal.
That's awesome, man. Well, okay. Now, like, tell us a little bit about what else is going on, right? Because I'm putting all this together as you're telling me. As I tell everybody always, it's like I come in here delightfully ignorant. I don't know a whole lot, but this life that you live now, like you shoot documentary films, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's really a beautiful hero's journey. So one of the things you learn in documentary filmmaking is that what people like to see is someone face adversity and then overcome that adversity and achieve a goal, right? And so they call that the hero's journey. And you know, unbeknownst to me, I kind of live that life fully on. So I'm doing those cannabis events, I'm filming those things, and I'm becoming this documentary journalist kind of unbeknownst to me. We make this project. It's not right. Everybody tells me they can open the door to Netflix, they can open the door to Vice, nobody can do any of the things they said they could do. Completely misrepresented themselves. And then I'm getting I'm trying to do it, pound the pavement, can't find anywhere. A friend of a friend of a friend of a friend is ultimately introduces me to somebody, and that's the guy that opens the door for me and shows me kind of how he was doing these independent horror movies this way. You could do independent documentaries the same way. And then what topics could we do? We don't have to do your thing that you were working so hard on. And in fact, it's actually easier to do something right from the beginning than it is to fix something that you did already. And so what we did was we tackled these cannabis medicine projects. In my journeys as a cannabis person, I met people who were healing other people with cannabis. It seemed like this thing that was more important than like all this dumb rock star stuff that I was doing. And if you
Right.
could cure your cancer with cannabis, this is much more important than whatever we're doing getting high and whoever has the best weed. So I wanted to give them a platform. They were always struggling guys, and a lot of times they were giving this medicine away for free. And so I said, "Hey, I've heard all about all this stuff, but how?" It's always you watch CNN and they're like, "Good news, you can heal yourself with cannabis." But they don't
Goodness.
tell you how. And grandma walks away thinking she's going to smoke a joint and cure her cancer, and that's just not how it works. And so I've said to these guys, "How are you guys doing this? You have all these remissions. Let's tell the stories. So give me a few people, and then let's tell the stories." And so that's what we did. And those movies did okay. It wasn't big blockbuster hits right away, but there was enough that my partner was like, "We could keep doing this." And so then he says to me, "Hey, the film company that we distribute our projects through, they give you a list of all the projects and what they're doing. So I get to see everybody's results. And so here's what's popular." And so now I get a list. Okay, these are the ones that are popular. And there's all these weird things that are popular. And so I say to him, "Hey, what do you think about Bigfoot? I've watched all these Bigfoot documentaries when I was smoking weed at home. Like,
Right. Right.
what do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I make a Bigfoot documentary. It's virally popular right away. Third movie we ever made. Boom. Okay, now we get some money. Now I can buy my own equipment. And he comes out. We shoot a UFO documentary. Boom, that one's popular too. And so, and like doing it, he's like, "The stuff that you're doing, I could never do." He's shy. He would never walk up to one of these Bigfoot people or like UFO famous. This guy's been on CNN. I just walk right up to him. I'm shameless. Like, "Hey, you want to do an interview right now in the closet?" Like, I could care less. I don't have any shame about it because I didn't go to film school. I don't know what I'm doing. This is great.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so all of a sudden, we're like making these movies and like, boom, 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 they're happening. And so now I get to like, well, what about these other topics? And so some of my topics, they don't hit. And all the stuff I'm the most proud of, all the best work that I've done, it's not financially successful. These weird
Right.
movies are profitable. And it gives me the opportunity to eventually fix that cannabis movie that I made. And so we put that out. And so that documentary that everybody thought I would never make, we made it, and it's on Amazon. And then so
Yeah.
now I start hearing from people, and they're like, "Da, da, 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 da." And you know how nobody wanted me to throw their cannabis event? Now, all of a sudden, I get a message from these European guys, and they're like, "Hey, we want to do this other thing, and like, would you do it?" And this is funded in a way that none of my other events ever were. And so I'm like,
Wow.
"Okay." And I have to do a little investigating to make sure it's on the up and up, but it is.
Right.
And I get to do what I want to do. And I have financial backers that aren't depending on me to hustle all my friends out of all their money so that I can
Right.
pay for this dumb thing that I want to do. The dumb thing that I want to do isn't what makes the money. It doesn't have to pay for the thing that I'm doing. I'm doing this fundamentally concept cultural thing, and it's the industry of that thing that pays for the thing. And so now I just get to represent the culture in the way that I always wanted to do. And maybe I'll someday get to do this on a grander scale for more things in cannabis. But it full circle came
It's
around. I'm in my
awesome, man.
fifth year of throwing this event, and it pays me better
Wow.
than any event I ever threw. And so now I'm going and I'm making these movies. I get to
He's back.
I
Now
get
you
to
now
do
all you gotta
everything
do
I
is
ever
back up.
wanted, and
You just
so
get yeah, we gotta
it's
get those
awesome,
11 Bitcoin. That's
you
all we
know?
gotta get. We gotta get our 11
Hey, you know what? I was able to retrieve my original investment. If that's all the universe is gonna give me, I'll take it. But the other
I
thing
love
I'm
it.
learning, I'm talking to these people and, I've talked to all these mentalism people. I did a documentary about brainwashing and influence and mind reading and all this stuff. And when you do that documentary, you walk away thinking nothing is real, and your own thoughts and decisions are being manipulated by these powers that be. And then I talk to these people who are talking to the mantis aliens and maybe Jesus or dolphin or whoever, an angel, and they all seem to have really happy lives, and they're doing financially well in my eyes. And,
Yeah.
maybe
That's
I'm not
awesome,
sure if
man.
they're 100% correct about these stories that they're telling me, but they're onto something. And
Well, they're happy about it, and I mean, that's something to be said, brother. Well,
exactly.
listen, so, like, where can you just tell everybody where they can find out more, get this get your documentary that's on Amazon. Where's the best way that they can come and check all this stuff
Sure.
out,
So I've
Jeremy?
made about 60-ish documentaries about all kinds of different topics. I have a website, theskyisland.com. There you can go to my filmography. It'll take you to my IMDb page. Everything that's not on YouTube is linked through the IMDb page. So you can find a title. It'll usually have a link to where you can watch it for free or at a small cost, like on Amazon. Then it's commercial free. And then you can watch it with commercials on YouTube, or sometimes we do revenue shares on YouTube with other channels. So there's maybe 10 different YouTube channels that you could find one of my movies on. And then my co-producer has a channel, Jay Horton Films, I think is what it's called. All of that is linked through my website page too. My book, Jack Moves, is also on my website. And the event that I produce is called the American Autoflower Cup, and the website is called theamericanAutoflowercup.com.
You're a busy dude, man, and it all came back to you while you're walking these dogs in Big Bear. Dude, what a journey, brother. It's so cool, man. It's so impressive. Well, this has been one hell of a walkabout with my new friend Jeremy here. But yeah, this has been another episode of The Next Fix. We'll see you on the next one.